Let's now revisit very quickly about how to perform proper error handling on the bank example using exceptions. So again, we are creating a new kind of error called invalid transaction exception. Okay, and then it will extend the exception clause. Again, you can automatically generate such exception clause from Eclipse, which I showed to you in the earlier part. And then we are now going to see exactly how we can understand the call stack using exception. Okay, so you can read off the slides yourself, and then I'm going to show to you by some visual illustration over here. Let's see over here. Let's now go from, let's see what the call stack might be. So the bottom method call in the call stack should be bank application dot main, where we are trying to make a method call, which would be over here. So you can see the bank and then dot withdraw. So that's the method we are calling, right? And also bank dot withdraw over here. What withdraw from? So just in the notes over here, I'm showing it's slightly different, but it's the same idea. We also have seen the code earlier, so I'm not going to explain from scratch. Okay, bank dot withdraw. So again, that's the caller, and then we're going to get also here. Account is the array, right? Every member in the array is actually account, and then we are saying account dot withdraw over here. So that's a callee. So we're talking about account dot withdraw. So where is the exception originated? It will be exactly over here. You can see invalid withdraw over here. So this is where the exception originated. So this is where the exception originated. Okay, and then you can see also drew some diagram just for your convenience. So this is based on the programming pattern that we learned from the review tutorial series. So when we are trying to create a bank, we got the number of accounts, which is just one. We have only added one account into the bank, and that's why there's only one pointer pointing to ACC1 over here of ID 23, and then the rest of the account will just be the rest of the slots in the array will just be null. Okay, so what's going to happen is at the runtime, when we actually try to run this particular loop over here, let me just highlight it here for you. You can see we say if the ID is equal to ID, and the ID that we are talking about is 23 over here. So this will be 23. When it is exactly equal to 23, we're going to do the withdraw, and the amount we are trying to withdraw is going to be from the user. So now just imagine that if you got some negative number, let's say minus 5 million, let's say, of course that should cause an error. All right. In that case, we're going to expect some error, the exception to be thrown. Okay. Exception should be thrown from the callee account dot withdraw, and with the 5 million over here, right? And then once it is thrown, is this particular one, is it actually specifying it, or is it catching it, right? That's the question we got to answer. You can see here it is specifying it in the method where it is originated, and in this one here it's also specifying it, right? Let me highlight it. Okay, it's really important to see that. So you can see, let me use a different color. Let's say, how about orange? So this is where the exception is specified in the method originating it, and also this is the color of that method. They also specify it, and in this case, in the method, in the entry point of execution, we actually got try and catch, meaning that when the exception is thrown over here, it will be propagated into this class over here, and then it will be handled by the try and catch block, right? Based on our understanding from the earlier example. Hopefully you are feeling comfortable about this. Okay, let me write it down for you. Okay, and then we know that it's going to be thrown from there, and since bank dot withdraw method over here bank dot withdraw. This method over here specifies it. It will be propagated to bank application.main. Bank application.main. Right? It's a very important concept to really to keep reinforcing for you. All right, I hope you're okay with that. Let's now take a look at the debugger quickly, and then we're done with this revisit. Let's now go back to Eclipse. Let me close the previous tabs over here, and let me clear the console over here. And let's now also switch back to the Java perspective. And the one I want to look at would be the accounts with exceptions over here. That's the one I want to look at. And you can click on bank application over here, right? Let me just revisit quickly. This is where the exception is originated, right? It's thrown over here. And then for the bank class, its caller is actually only going to specify it. And for bank application, that one there actually will choose to try and catch it, right? That's they kind of got different options when they are phasing to satisfy the catch or specify requirements. Let me go back to bank application, and then I will actually put. You can see I also got a while loop over here. That's actually the loop I spoke about before, right? But I'm just going to give you some idea quickly, okay? If I just go for this line over here, so B that withdraw from, okay? Withdraw from is like the withdraw you saw on the paper, right? I'm just calling slightly different names between the Eclipse and also the nodes, okay? All right, let's now try. If I run the debugger, and by the way, the way to understand about this Boolean variable controlling the entrance and exit for the loop, I already explained them in detail in the earlier video when I spoke about the circle and circle calculator too. So you can revisit that. I'm not going to repeat. Okay. Let me now simply run the debugger over here. How much to draw from account 23, right? If I say minus 5 million, like that, and enter. Okay, and then I will switch to the debug perspective, right? By the way, and at the moment, we actually got a valid amount, so this is the Boolean variable. It's remained to be still false, but it should be turned into true at some point. Okay, let's say for this one here, for the first one, what if I simply just say step over? If I say step over, that means the invalid transaction exception will be thrown, and the rest of the try block will be ignored. And then I'm gonna go directly to this part over here, right? Let's try. If I simply go for step over here, you can see I simply just go to valid amount. Apparently the amount is simply invalid, so I'll just say valid amount should remain to be false, right? Like that. Okay, very good. I just explicitly set it to be false. And then I can execute step over again. So now valid amount remains to be false, and the exclamation mark over here, negation of false, will be true. So that means if I say step over, we will still go into the loop, right? And we'll ask the user the second time how much to withdraw from the account 23. And this time, let me enter something that's actually normal. Let me say, what's the current balance? Let's see. So if you go to EECS2030, the balance is 100. So it would be safe to withdraw $5, let's say. If I enter, okay, over here, and then I would say step over, and you can see the amount. If I move the cursor over, it's actually 5 right now, right? That's safe. Meaning that if I try to execute this withdraw from, it's not going to throw the exception this time. So that means it's going to be a normal flow compared with in the earlier iteration is abnormal flow, right? Again, you want to really make sure you know how to distinguish between the two flows. Where it is a normal flow, what's going to happen is we're going to execute line by line over here, and then we're going to bypass what's in the catch block, right? So now let's do that. If I say step over, you can see I simply go to the remaining lines in the try block, and I'm going to set the valid amount to be true. As soon as I set it to be true, I know that later on when I check the exit condition again, it's going to be negation of true, which will make sure we exit from the loop, right? That's the logic that I already went over in the earlier part. Okay, if I say step over, it's going to say after withdrawing 5, the new balance is $95, which is good, right? You can see it's a very simple iterative algorithm that actually makes use of the exception handling. It's really important for you to understand how they work together. Okay, if I say step over, and then you can see valid amount right now is actually true, and not true is going to give you false. So if I say step over, now I'm done, right? So it works pretty well for the logic. All right. Okay, so hopefully everything is clear to you, and that's about the bank example I would like to revisit. But I do encourage you to do the following exercise. You're still going to reach this breakpoint over here by launching the debugger, but I want you to step into the withdraw from over here, and then that will switch you to the context of the bank, which will be this particular loop. And then there's only one account. So in the very first iteration, when you reach this line over here, I want you to step into this particular account that withdraw, callee, which will bring you to account that withdraw over here. And then in the case where the amount is actually less than 0, you will actually throw that exception. And then I want you to see the call stack on the side over here, and also to see if you are convinced how the what the step over will bring you into, right? I've done a few examples already doing this in the earlier parts, so I'll leave this as an exercise for you. All right, so that's about the example I would like to revisit. And for the final part, for the exceptions lecture, I'd like to give you just 2 more examples about using exceptions.